So for the same company, probably a year later, I was asked to do some training for our other office. We had two offices. I worked at the corporate headquarters, and we had another office in Kent. And I kind of managed the CAD standards and some of the field operation standards for our crews. And I was scheduled, the boss asked me to go over to the other office and do some training, help the crews become more efficient with their methods in the field that would help it translate better into the office for when we did our mapping. The trouble that I ran into is I was scheduled to go do this. I went over there kind of on short notice, and I really was not well received. There was kind of a us versus them. There's the Kent office and the Pasco office. There was this kind of rivalry where they thought they were better than us, and because they're in the big city, but we're corporate, so of course we think we're better than them. So it was constantly this competition in a way. So unfortunately, the managers didn't really set aside time for their crews to come in and do the training with me. Over a third of the crews didn't get the training at all. I really felt like it was a big wasted effort. There wasn't much change in their procedures and what they did, no change in efficiency. It really could have gone better. So how it could have improved with some better horizontal or lateral communication. If we had more communication up front from the owner to the managers to get some more buy-in there, that would have really made a big difference. The only real communication came from me, and I'm just a bad guy in the other office as far as the leadership in that office was concerned. So me sending emails and scheduling with them with vague references to this is what the owner wants was not a very good communication to get buy-in from the managers. And without managers relaying that message with some positive energy to their employees, they really weren't interested. They felt that it was a waste of their time to be in the office getting this training, and they just kept on doing what they had been doing. So if we had kind of rolled out a better plan over a longer period of time, and the owner communicated more efficiently with his managers, expressed that this was a whole company training and I just happened to be the one doing the training, that really would have had a big impact on how well it was taken by the managers and the employees. Number 4, review the case study. Identify at least 5 areas of intersection between the case study and this week's readings. So basically, Worcester Manufacturing had a schedule delay. They were going to lose like 90 days of anticipated work that it got delayed for these particular 19 employees. This particular group was really efficient. They had done well on previous work, and now all of a sudden they were looking at possibly getting laid off. The owner came up with a plan to keep them on the books, keep them on payroll. He was thinking they could loan the employees out to local nonprofits, do some corporate responsibility stuff. And the owner really felt like it was a win-win, and the management there really also felt that it was. The employees, unfortunately, were unhappy about the change. It didn't work for their daycare or transportation arrangements. They really would rather be laid off. So the 5 ways that this, that intersected with our chapters. So in the beginning of the case study, there was a meeting with Howard, Jason, and Ann. The owner really displayed a couple of the 5 qualities that foster a supportive climate that's talked about on page 155. The owner showed credibility. They knew he had been in the industry for 26 years, so there was some confidence in his ability to make some good decisions with regard to the industry. Credibility is talked about on page 157, as well as the participatory decision making. The owner was really open to his management team, listening to their ideas in the meeting. They were really there to put their heads together. So he showed another quality of that supportive climate. So let's see, number 2, Anne drafted a memo and Monica posted a notice on the billboard or a bulletin board after they had come to a decision in that meeting. They started to put things in motion. And so HR drafted a memo and emailed it out, and then it got posted on the bulletin board as well for the employees. These are both examples of downward communication. The top level makes a decision, they put the plan in motion, started making calls to the nonprofits, and then they put out the message to their employees and let them know what was going on. Number three, so not communicating with the lowest levels. They posted the notices with no opportunity for input. So there was no participatory decision making. They didn't really show very good mutual respect with the employees. That's talked about on page 156. While there might be a supportive climate in the mini climate at the management level, there's more of a defensive climate on the lower levels. So the chapter talked about this a bit, these mini climates. So you might have a good positive climate where people are open to talking and whatnot, and we see that at the management level. But then at the employee level, they really weren't included in the decision. It wasn't the greatest communication overall, and so there's kind of a defensive climate at that lower level. Number four, some upward communication. We see the employees came to HR, came and talked with Anne and had complaints. They raised their issues about their daycare and their transportation and how this is all going to work. So they did some upward communication there. That's appropriate because the policies would probably indicate that they would bring any personal matters to HR, so that was appropriate. They also did talk to Jason, who was kind of one of the leads, as I understand, and so that was some upward communication with regards to employees talking to their managers. Let's see, that would fall under the classification of information about subordinates. It's talked about on page 124. Number five, there was made mention in one of the talks in the second meeting with the management. There's a mention of the Harvard Business Review article about transformational leaders. I think this is an example of rhetorical analysis, or it could be an example of it. It's not referenced directly in the chapter or in the case study this way, but this is an article that was rhetorical, and we could kind of analyze how this article ended up surfacing in the management team, and the owner knows about it, the HR person knows about it, and because they had this communication from their industry, it was then processed internally and now became part of their organizational messages that got passed around. We can definitely see how we can analyze that rhetorical piece of information and see that it positively affected this organization. So that article ended up affects how the owner is going to present himself to the rest of the company. And hopefully, we didn't get to see what the outcome was in this case study just yet, but hopefully he's able to use the information he learned in that article, present himself better and more inspirational to his group, and hopefully some portion of that 19 decide to stay on and make a difference in the community at the company's expense. And that is all that I have for this module. Thanks, everybody.